Okay, Bobby, let's just talk a little bit about the challenge for you as a former great base stealer and first base coach, working with a team that's really not known as a base stealing team, and yet you want to encourage great base running, obviously. What are some of the challenges there?
Well, that's a long answer that I'll try to shorten. Bottom line, it's about accountability. It's about being respectful to each other and expect one another to do the smart things on the bases. And base stealing is a part of that. The right spots, and being smart about when you do it, percentage minded, and so on. But there's so much more to it, Fred. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Going first and third. Trading places. When you get a base hit, runner at second, he's scoring and throws over the head of the cutoff guy. Now you got to get to second base. A number of things. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Balls in the dirt, knowing your own clock. Can I get from A to B before they can get it from C to B? All that stuff. And you add it all up, there's a whole bunch more. That's accountability, really for yourself. You got to be accountable to your own mirror, and then ultimately have the respect for your teammate enough. Expect your teammate to do it too, as you do yourself, and then you respect each other because of it. That's who we're trying to be. It's who we are, and it's just going to take a little time maybe to get it completely ironed out. We're kind of like a shirt in the laundry. We're still not back from the dry cleaner yet, but we'll get there. And several of these guys can run, steal bases. We're still in the process of figuring out. Mike's very percentage minded, and we're going to remain that way. For now, the way the club's structured, granted, we don't have a lot of base stealers, but who does? I mean, our hope is that we can be, as a team, a smart base running team who gives a concentrated effort.
So it's not all about blazing speeds. Speed is great to have, obviously, but instincts and knowledge of the opposing pitcher and the catcher, all these factor in, right?
Well, yeah, they do. And again, having a three-headed monster, if you will. Granted, you got your helmet on, you're hitting. As soon as that ball's left your bat, there's a whole bunch of complicated things that happen. So immediately, the smart guys put on their base running helmet when they leave the box, and they start thinking as a base runner. When they're done with that, the inning's over, then you go get your hat, and you put on your glove, and now you become a defensive player. You got to be three ways. You can't just do one thing, not in our league, not if you expect to win. So that's what we're talking about as far as being accountable, really to each other, the player to player. And then, of course, as coaches, too, we have to be accountable to each other and to the players, and they to us. And when you get all that going together, really it's a lot of fun. And as well as I do, winning will never be old-fashioned. I don't talk about old school, new school. I talk about winning school. As a coach, I think that's incumbent upon me and the rest of the coaches. We all subscribe to that thinking, and that's why I believe we're going to win here, and we're going to win more than once. And just sit back and relax and watch it develop, and I'm confident it will.
Of course, you were part of the Daily Double with Ryne Sandberg in the mid-'80s, and just talk about the domino effect of the threat of you getting on base and running, and how that meant better pitches for Rhino, better pitches for Sarge. Talk about that threat there.
Well, that's what we did. That's what teams that win do. That's what we're doing. I don't know if you've noticed, but throughout the spring and in the early part of the season, we've been a threat to run at times when it made sense, and the guys are doing the work. And if, say, for example, Barney's on base, he's doing the work, and Bird's hitting behind him, Bird has reaped the benefits. And it's happened a number of times, whether it's Bird on and Ramey's hitting, or it's Starlin's on and Barney's hitting. That's what happens. Now the pitcher's having to divide his attention a little bit. Rhino used to tell me, it's easy to pitch from the windup and deal with any hitter. It's a lot more difficult when you have somebody behind you who's, attracting a little attention, and now I've got to deal with the guy at the plate. So our thinking was always, let's put that in the pitcher's court and see if he can handle it. And inevitably, it puts enough of an edge on a pitcher. Ted Lilly used to talk about a lot about rhythm and how having base stealers on base or threats to run would disrupt his rhythm. And there's a guy who was pretty concentrated. Okay, he is pretty concentrated. So, and I think there's a number of pitchers like that. If we can be that kind of team, again, it lends itself to teamwork, and to me, part of being a good teammate is to go out there and do the work, and then in turn expect you to do the work, and then so on down the line.
Are there any particular guys on this Cubs team now, in your opinion, who have the potential maybe to become much better base stealers, with better instincts and training?
Well, repetition, experience, and I think Barney, Castro are two of our young guys that have that. Some of these guys have been around a while, have some savvy. Just for fun. I mean, Baker's 10 for 10 lifetime. That's not a lot, but that tells you a little something. A number of guys, but we're not structured overall as a team that's going to go out there and scare you a lot with base stealing. But there's not a whole lot of teams like that, period. I think it's important to have some of that, and usually it's the guys at the top of the lineup. Fook does the work, Fukudome. There's guys that have savvy that can do it. You don't have to be the fastest guy in the world, but I think if you have a little bit of reaction ability, awareness, a little bit of quickness, and most of all concentration and determination. If you're not determined to do anything, then you're not going to do it.
Right.
So I care. I don't try to go there. I don't overstep my bounds or try to teach something that's ridiculous. I do challenge them though and say, hey man, how are you going to know? Unless you give it a shot. You're a good athlete, world-class athlete in some cases, and hey, why not? Give it an effort and concentrate and see what you can do with it. And just by being a threat, like we talked about earlier, that's being a teammate.
And we all see you when a Cubs player gets on base, you whisper some things to him. What are just sort of reminders of how many outs there are and situations, circumstances, that kind of thing?
Again, a long list of things.
Yeah.
There's a big one. One thing that we've become pretty good at, and we'll continue to work on. One thing players need mostly is just reminders of what they already know. Now, I do have the clock, and I have pitchers' times and tendencies. I got a little. I'm learning the league myself still, but I've got video and I've paid attention to that, trying to be ahead of the game a little bit. So when a guy does come in, say from the bullpen or prior to the game, we know the starter and some of the things he does, and these are the things we're going to use when those opportunities arise. But we try to, little things like, when Pete Rose was hitting or Rhino was hitting or a number of guys hitting behind me, I had to learn the hard way a little bit. I mean, I was over anxious sometimes, and I'd get doubled off on a line drive, for example. In situations sometimes I was over anxious. I was thinking about trying to score on a double or break up the double play or beat the 6-hole play at second and get my teammate a hit. And Pete Rose told me that early on, he gave me the hint. He said, look, Bobby, I'm a professional hitter. You have to expect a line drive first, and then everything else, your mom knows what to do. Ball's hit on the ground, mom knows, run. Ball's popped up, mom knows, get out there a little, watch, see what happens. Okay, we're professional baseball players. We have to expect professional hitters to hit a line drive with less than 2 out. If we're looking for that first, then we make the right moves. The word freeze, people call it freeze. Well, you can't just say freeze. You got to say how to do it. How to do it is expect. Fred Mitchell's hitting behind me, and you're a professional hitter. I'm going to expect you to hit a line drive first. And now I'm looking for that off the bat. And if it's not that, I know what to do. If it is that, I'm froze, and now I can get back most of the time.
Great. All right, we can talk forever about base running. It's fun. Thanks, Bobby. Thanks for your time.
You bet.